Howdy folks, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to recap The Cabin in the Woods, an American horror mystery film directed by Drew Goddard. Here be spoilers, so viewers beware. The movie starts in an underground establishment where two men, Gary Sitterson and Steve Hadley, talk about their lives. As they walk through the hallways, a woman approaches and informs them about the facility in Stockholm going south. The two men then vaguely talk about a ritual that only they and Japan can complete now. Then they get into a mini vehicle and drive off. The scene then shifts to a young college girl, Dana's room. Dana, her friend Jules, and their friend group are about to leave for a trip to a cabin in the woods. Jules' boyfriend, Kurt, enters the room and tells the girls to hurry. Their other friend, Holden, is outside. The group packs up their belongings and loads them into a van. Just then, another one of their friends, Marty, arrives smoking weed in his car. They all get in an RV van and drive off to their destination. After they leave, we see a man watching them from far away. He reports the group's departure to the facility from earlier. Sitterson and Hadley are in the facility watching the events unfold. They are keeping a close eye on them through satellite cameras. The group stops at a gas station to ask for directions and fill up the gas tank. The attendant of the station, Mordecai, is elderly and unfriendly. The group is unsettled by his behavior. Mordecai tells them that returning from the woods will be difficult, but the group dismisses him. However, when he refers to Jules as a whore, they almost get into a fight. Everyone gets back into the RV and drives away. After a while, they enter a tunnel. As they pass, a bird flies behind them, but hits an invisible electric shield of some sort. They finally reach the cabin. Holden enters his room, where he sees a weird painting. Unsettled, he takes it down to reveal that it was hiding a one-way mirror. Dana is in the other room in front of the mirror, taking her clothes off. He realizes that the mirror is see-through only on his side. Holden calls the others, and they inspect the mirror. He asks Dana to switch rooms so he feels more comfortable. After everyone leaves, Dana places the painting back in front of the mirror and hangs a blanket over it. Back in the facility, everyone watches the events unfold through the surveillance camera hidden throughout the cabin. They appear to have been drugging the kids in various ways, like Jules's hair dye and Marty's stash. However, we do not know why they are doing this just yet. Mordecai calls the facility, revealing that he too is their ally. Meanwhile, the group goes for a swim in a nearby lake while at the facility. Everyone bets on their fate. They place their bets on mythical creatures and monsters like zombies, vampires, werewolves, ghosts of twins, mummies, giant snakes, and many others. Hadley places the bet on a merman. Truman is a new employee of the facility. He is a little skeptical about its methods and questions its workings to Agent Lynn. The other agents explain that their system only takes the group to the cellar. After that, the group's decisions lead them to their survival or their deaths. Truman finally seems to understand the rules. At the cabin, the group starts a game of truth or dare. Jules goes first. Marty dares her to make out with a wolf's head mounted on the wall. She completes the dare as everyone else watches in awe. When it is Dana's turn, she chooses dare. Suddenly, the cellar's doors open with a loud bang. As the group contemplates what is in it, Jules dares Dana to get inside the cellar. She accepts the dare and goes in bravely. However, only a few seconds later, a horrifying picture startles her, and she screams. Everyone comes down behind her. They discover several strange objects placed neatly on shelves. Everyone looks around while Marty insists they do not touch anything. The group doesn't listen. Kurt picks up a strange puzzle like a ball, and Jules gets a necklace. Before they can do anything with their objects, Dana calls them to look at a diary she has found. It seems to be the diary of a little girl whose family was tortured by her family. In the end, it is written by the family that will revive once someone reads the Latin word written below it out loud. Marty is entirely against them reading the words, but Dana reads it anyway. Just then, we see a hand dig itself out of the ground somewhere in the woods, followed by a group of zombies. At the facility, people who place bets on zombies win. Hadley is disappointed that he won't be able to see a merman. The camera pans to the other monitors, and we see similar experiments going on in Japan. The group is now back to the living area. Jules dances suggestively in front of the fireplace while everyone else watches her. Sometime later, Jules and Kurt go outside together for a walk. Marty suspects that something is off and talks to Dana about it, but she dismisses him, claiming that he is just high. Meanwhile, Kurt and Jules playfully run through the woods when Kurt suggests they have sex. But Jules complains about her being chilly. The agents in the facility are disappointed. They spread a pheromone fog in the woods and increase its temperature to make the two more comfortable. Kurt and Jules soon start having sex as everyone in the facility watches them. Suddenly, a zombie appears out of nowhere and stabs Jules' palm. She cries in pain. Kurt tries to save her but is attacked by them too. One of them drags Jules towards him and decapitates her head, as Kurt watches in horror. Back at the facility, Hadley and Sitterson watch Jules die and pray. Hadley then pulls down a lever which makes some gears turn and collect Jules' blood. Her blood then flows through the crevices of a carved stone. At the cabin, Dana and Holden make out as Marty goes outside for a walk. He comes across Kurt running towards him while fighting off a zombie. Terrified, the two run inside and lock the doors behind them. Kurt tells the group about the zombies and Jules' death. Worried, Dana opens the door to look for Jules. However, as she opens it, a zombie throws Jules' decapitated head at Dana. She screams in fear. Everyone quickly shuts the doors before the zombie can come in. At first, they decide to stick together, but since it would not be convenient to the facility, they spread a chemical gas into the cabin. This makes the group change their decision. Everyone goes into their respective room and the door is shut behind them. Marty mistakenly drops a lamp and discovers a hidden microphone inside. He suspects that he is in a reality show, but before he can tell the others, a zombie drags him out through the window. Marty tries to fight, but to no avail. The zombie stabs him on his back. Hadley then pulls another lever and collects Marty's blood. His blood drops down the crevices of a carved stone as Jules's did. Suddenly, a zombie breaks off the window in Dana's room and tries to get in. Holden hears her scream and breaks the glass mirror to let her in his room. There, they discover an underground room that leads to the basement. They go in and are searching for a way out when suddenly a zombie attacks Holden and pulls him up. But before he can hurt Holden, Dana stabs him repeatedly, killing the zombie. Kurt opens the door from the other side. The three of them get in the RV and drive away. In the facility, the news breaks that Japan too has been unsuccessful in completing the ritual. Now, the American facility is the only way to complete the ritual. The group then heads to the tunnel. Kurt easily drives the RV through it, but halfway to the other end, Sitterson sets off an explosion and the tunnel starts caving in. Kurt reverses the RV and gets out of the tunnel just in time. A large gorge forms between them and the other side. Kurt sees a dirt bike hanging on the RV's racks and gets on it to fly to the other end. However, as he does that, the bike slams on an unseen barrier from the beginning of the movie. Kurt then falls down and dies. Hadley again pulls the lever, and Kurt's blood is also collected in the crevices of the carved stone. Dana finally realizes that Marty was right. Someone has been trying to kill them all along. Dana and Holden get into the RV and drive back to the woods. Suddenly, a zombie that had gotten into the van before they took off stabs Holden. The van crashes into the lake, taking all three of them with it. Dana somehow manages to swim up and save herself while the zombie drowns. The agents at the facility happily celebrate their win. Truman is confused because Dana is still alive. Hadley explains that the virgin's death is optional for their ritual to be complete. Dana gets out to the deck when a zombie attacks her. Back at the facility, suddenly, a red phone starts ringing. Hadley answers the call. He gets to know from the other end that the Virgin is not the only one alive. They have found out that someone else from the group isn't dead yet. Just then, as Dana tries to fight the zombie, Marty appears and kills it. The duo then run into the woods. Marty takes Dana to the grave that the zombie came out of. Inside, he finds an electric box which he uses to open the door to an elevator. Marty has figured out that someone had sent the zombies through the elevator to kill them. The two then jump into the elevator and start it. Halfway there, it changes direction and starts moving horizontally. Suddenly, their elevator stops in front of another. Inside it is a werewolf. As they move further in, they come across several other monsters. Dana finally realizes that the group chose the monsters inside the cellar. She starts to scream and hits the elevator doors. The camera then zooms out, showing us numerous other elevators with different kinds of monsters in them. Back at the facility, they find out whatever Marty has been smoking has been immunizing him from the chemicals let in by the facility. They bring the duo's elevator into the facility to kill Marty and complete the ritual themselves. Hadley orders a guard to go kill them. When the elevator doors open, they come before a guard pointing a gun at them. However, they manage to slam his head in the wall before he shoots. Marty grabs his gun and they both run away into the hallway. Suddenly, they hear a female voice telling them that their job is to sacrifice themselves. The voice insists that there is something going on they are too naive to understand. Then a squad of soldiers is sent towards them. Marty and Dana run inside a control room, but the soldiers start firing. Dana starts hitting random buttons in the control panel. One of the buttons says, "System Purge." Dana looks at Marty one last time and presses the button. The glass elevators with the monsters open. Within seconds, the monsters kill all the soldiers, creating a bloodbath. When the backup soldiers arrive, they are horrified to see the zombies devouring the soldiers' dead bodies. One by one, all the monsters escape the elevator and into the facility. They start killing everyone on their way. Sitterson and Hadley are in the facility's main control room when the lights go off. The zombies attack them too. Everything is chaos. Meanwhile, a monster enters the room Dana and Marty are in, but they manage to escape. They walk around the facility and climb down a hole created by a monster. In the facility's major control room, Hadley is killed by the merman that he desperately wanted to see. Lynn is taken by a huge snake too, but Sitterson manages to escape into a secret hallway. There, he meets Dana, who stabs him. Before dying, he tells Dana to kill Marty. The two then walk through a door and see several carved stones with their crevices filled with blood. They meet the director of the establishment there. They recognize her voice from the announcement earlier. She explains the ritual to the duo. The 5 carved stones represent the 5 characters: the whore, the athlete, the scholar, the fool, and the virgin. Their group had all 5 of them. The ritual is to sacrifice all of them to delight the group of deities who will otherwise rise from hell and end humanity. For the ritual to be successful, the whore should die first, and the virgin should survive till the end or die last. The order of the death doesn't matter until the whore dies first and the virgin last. The rituals in the other parts of the world have failed. Now, the only way to save humankind from the wrath of the dark gods is to kill Marty. As it turns out that Dana and Marty are standing over a pit that leads to where the dark gods are sleeping. They only have 8 minutes to end the ritual. Marty doesn't agree to sacrifice himself and claims that mankind isn't worth saving. However, Dana points the gun at Marty. The director provokes Dana to pull the trigger and save the world. But before she can, a werewolf attacks her and she drops the gun. Marty and the director fight to acquire the gun. Marty finally gets it and shoots the werewolf to make it run away. Then the little zombie girl from the diary appears and hits the director with an axe on her head. Marty then kicks them both into the pit of the dark gods. He walks towards an injured Dana and lights a blunt. The place suddenly starts shaking and rumbling. Eventually, the ground cracks open. The movie ends as a massive hand emerges from the ground and slams down on the camera. Explanation: Cabin in the Woods follows a typical slasher film pattern. A group of youngsters, all with vastly different personalities, somehow are friends. They go to a deserted cabin in the middle of nowhere. The movie is almost predictable, like their last stop before their cabin being a rusty gas station with an old creep who vaguely warns them about what is coming for them. Everything is fun and games when they reach the cabin, only with a hint of weirdness here and there, like the two-way mirror and the weird painting. But things get progressively weirder when they find a bunch of old, rusty, and potentially haunted stuff down in the cabin's cellar. And like any group of horror movies, they do what they are not supposed to do. They read a Latin line from a little girl's diary, even though it is clearly written that reading it out loud will bring back the dead, and so it does. However, the movie comes with a twist. The youngsters have been set up by what looks like a multi-million-dollar underground facility established to please the gods of the underworld. As it turns out that the world was once ruled by supersized gods who currently live below the Earth's surface, they require a group of youth to be sacrificed every year for them to remain where they are. As it is said that if the sacrifice fails, the gods come back to Earth and they will end humanity as we know it. So, to prevent this from happening, every country in the world has established facilities that perform its own rituals with its own set of rules. Only one thing is common in all rituals: the people to be sacrificed. They must be young. In America's ritual, they need to sacrifice the typical slasher movie characters: the whore, the athlete, the scholar, the fool, and the virgin. With an exception that the virgin can live or die, but the whore has to die first, and the virgin has to suffer. The group in the movie even had several options of the monsters they wanted to be killed by. As the movie progresses, the facility uses modern technologies to lead the characters to their death. For instance, they increase the temperature in the forest to make Jules and Kurt have sex, and they pollute the air with drugs to separate the group. They even demolish the tunnel to keep the group from leaving. Like in any slasher movie, the couple to have sex first is the first to be killed. This time by zombies, since they read the lines from the diary. However, the ritual fails because the fool, that is Marty, doesn't die. This creates more problems because the rituals from around the world fail too. Marty and Dana, who is the virgin, reveal the secret of the establishment. They also unleash all the monsters into the facility, creating a bloodbath. In the end, everyone dies except for the two. And since the ritual was not successful, a massive hand of the cruel deity from the underworld slams down on the Earth's surface. Fan theories. Fans have created their own theories and assumptions about the movie. Number 1. The characters' archetypes are wrong. The movie is practically based on the slasher film archetypes provided to each of the characters. Jules is the whore, Kurt the athlete, Holden the scholar, Marty the fool, and Dana the virgin. But some fans claim the characters' archetypes are intentionally made wrong. First, the fool Marty is proven to be the smartest character throughout the film. He warned everyone not to read the words from the diary, and he was the first one to realize that they are being watched. He also figured out the underground elevator, hence, to call him a fool would be foolish. Moreover, Dana is not exactly a virgin, but is the most virgin out of all others. Even when the director at the end refers to her as a virgin, she follows it with, "We work with what we have." Hence, fans have speculated that Marty is actually the virgin and Dana is the fool. Number 2. The monsters got out because of a glitch. We all know that Dana and Marty survived by letting all the monsters into the facility. Dana pressed a huge red button that said System Purge. But if we think about it, why would it even be an option? Everyone knew that the elevators contained horrifying monsters, and to let a button that releases the monsters into the facility out in an open room like that would be stupid. So some fans speculate that the red button was actually supposed to abort all the missions and get the monsters back to the elevators. However, a system glitch at the right moment caused them to do the exact opposite. Some fans argue that the button was kept as a last resort to sacrifice the characters. It was a way to save humanity, even if it meant that everyone in the establishment would die along with the characters. Number 3. Kurt knew about the rituals the whole time. From the beginning of the movie, we are told that the cabin belongs to Kurt's cousin. The only reason the group came was because of Kurt. Hence, many fans claim that Kurt was in on the ritual or was a member of the facility the whole time. He was ready to sacrifice himself to save humanity. Furthermore, Kurt was the one who brought Jules outside the cabin where she got killed. He does this to ensure Jules completes her role of dying first. Towards the end, Marty even said that he doesn't think Kurt has a cousin. Lastly, before leaping on the dirt bike, he made sure to give a heroic speech as if he knew that he was about to sacrifice himself. Wouldn't it make more sense to quickly drive away when a group of zombies is following you? Number 4. This Is the End is a sequel to The Cabin in the Woods. Some fans claim that the 2013 comedy This Is the End is a direct sequel to The Cabin in the Woods. The only part of the dark god that we see in The Cabin in the Woods is the giant arm that emerges out of the earth in the last clip. This could very easily be the arm of the monster that Jay and Seth see in This Is the End, right before they are sucked into heaven. Also, the cause of the apocalypse is never mentioned in This Is the End. Who knows, it could be the failure of the sacrifice of the cabin of the woods. However, others claim that the apocalypse in This Is the End is biblical, but nowhere in Cabin of the Woods is any religion mentioned. So the two cannot be related. However, Sitterson in one scene is seen wearing the Satanism symbol, suggesting that they might be the worshippers of Satan. Hence, they do not talk about the Bible. Number 5. The failure of the facility is a cult's play. The underground establishment in the movie is trained and experienced in sacrificing for hundreds of years. Hence, some fans believe that the failure was because of a cult that wanted to bring back the godly entities. According to them, a group of religious people found out about the sleeping gods and wanted to bring them back. Like many cults, they believed themselves to be chosen by the deities. They might have also believed that their deities are being held down or captured by the establishment. Hence, the cult formulated a plan to fail the sacrifice, like the tunnel mishap that almost let the characters run out of the woods. Such a mistake in this experienced faculty that is responsible to save humanity is reluctant. Hence, someone must be behind it.